Hi everyone, this is Andrew at Plainview Farm and welcome to part 2 of our high tensile electric grazing management system installation. So in this video I'm going to show you how I install gate handles as well as the hangers for those gate handles and a few other odds and ends along the way. So I'm going to begin with the gate handles. I've got another insulator. This is going to be for the gate, and we're just going to run it through the same fence steeples that we did our other insulator for the other side, and we're going to tie it off in the same manner. Now the stiffer 12.5 gauge, I will mention this, the stiffer 12.5 gauge, it's easier. You can, kind of take it and, twist it around and break it off. This lighter stuff doesn't do that as well. So, by now the 12.5 gauge would have already broke. This one is not. So, like I said, I'll clip it. Any kind of wire cutters do. Now I pull another strand of wire off of the spool. Okay, so my gate latches are these right here, and they just screw into the posts. Now, they are these, basically they're these pin lock insulators with a steel gate latch piece in it. But anyway, if these do fail, these pin locks, you can just drop like a 1/4 inch bolt or whatever in there and screw it on, and that makes it a little bit more secure. But I have had these pin lock insulator type insulators fail before, but not always. Sometimes they hold up. I've never used this specific one before, so I guess time will tell. But they've also got these splice deals on them here, which for this situation, the splice is going to move to the center hole. So the first thing I'll do is get those installed. Just run them in with a couple exterior wood screws, potentially. If you did not see the previous video, yes, my corner posts are pretty rough. They're old, used utility poles, so they'll last as long as they last, but the good thing is they were free, so I'm trying to build fence as economically as I can. Of course, economical from time to time will bite you, so that's the risk you take, I guess. I'm not too concerned about it. If I have to replace corner post, it's not that big of a deal. Let's get that on there nice and snug. I'm going to go ahead and move our splice nut over. That way we can get our gate mounted like it's supposed to be, our gate handle. And this wire that's running right through here, this is the wire going back to the truck where I ran the wire on this post right here up next to the road that divides our pasture between one another. So I'll show you in just a moment exactly how this all goes together as efficiently as possible, okay? So, got my gate handle here. I'm going to grab a wire. thread the wire through the end of the gate handle, and then we will hang it right there. And we're going to pull our wire tight enough that we get some tension on our gate handle. These are spring loaded gate handles. They have internal springs in them to help maintain tension. And then we're just going to tie this off like we have everything else. Make sure we have that wrapped plenty of times, just in the event something runs into our gate. Clip off the excess. Do the next one. All right, so now there you have our gate handle. You can see where the fence comes along. All right, we attach right here with our gate handles and we're able to close this off. The other hole over here will be what connects this gate right there. Okay, now I've got the gate handles hung. I mentioned before that one of the things that I liked about, a certain type of whatever you call it, strainer, was that it had a hole in the back so you could run straight through it. Well, we're going to just kind of get by on that here to make our connection. What we're going to do is we're going to cut our wire back here a ways, past the post. Then we're going to slip our wire through our tensioner, run it out the back, just around the bottom of the insulator, and or the bottom of the strainer, and it'll be fine. It's not going to hurt anything just to run through there. We're going to pull things tight and get tension on our wire. Okay, so now we have this wire sticking past our tensioner. Again, we'll get good tension on it here. Hopefully without losing too much room. Okay, now that's probably about all we're going to be able to do for it to still work. Now we'll do the same thing to the bottom. Reach back behind here a good ways. Clip off our wire. Run it through our strainer. Just the same way. Which I think I've got my wires crossed down there, so I'm going to have to go fix that. Alright, I got that taken care of. So now I have some insul tube right here, and I'm just going to run this wire through this piece of insul tube. Try to get it to go through where we want it. Down to here. clip our piece of Insul tube. Hopefully we don't cut our wire while we're at it. Alright, so now we have this piece of Insul tube running around the post where it cannot get, where it can't get caught up against something that will ground it out. Alright, so now with the piece of Insul tube on there, what we're going to do is we're going to pull it around the post and we're going to fish our wire through this nut, through this splice bolt, which I'll pull out of here and show it to you. This bolt has a cut down the middle of it, okay, that allows you to just stick your wire through there, thread it through there, and then it gets pinched as you run the nut up on the bolt. So we'll thread that through. And then tighten that nut on our wire. So we now have our connection here on our gate latch, which I'm going to have to come back with a wrench and tighten that up further. I'm guessing my 15 millimeter, yeah, it's way too small. So, like I said, I will come back and tighten that up later. Now I'm going to leave enough excess here that I can tighten this wire up as time goes on. You know, I'll clip it out here and basically just bend it back out of the way where it won't be a problem. And then I need to do the same thing on the bottom one down here. Then to keep the Insul tube kind of pulled over out of the way, I'll just grab a piece of scrap wire that I had laying over there by the pickup, and we'll just tie it off right here. And there we go. Now we've made our connection to our gate handles. Of course, I'm not actually going to attach all of this to the fence and make it hot until I'm done. That'll be the last thing I do on this project. And that's what one of our gate corners looks like. Pull it off, and now the gates, whenever you unhook them, they are no longer hot. They get their charge from the latches. All right, so this right here is another style of gate latch that I'm going to be using. This right here slips over the top of a T-post, and then it cranks down, tightens down in order to get firm on that T-post, and then you just attach a lead to, you know, one side of this loop here. And in order to do that, what I'm going to have to do is take these apart and pull my insulators off down, or at least 2 insulators and then 2 T-post clips off of this post in order to get these to slip down where I need them to go. So we'll start out by popping these insulators loose. And then pull off our T-post clips. Alright, now as I said, we just unscrew the hanger from the bracket here. There's a little nut on the back side. And I have to take these all the way off. order to get them to drop down where I want them. Hopefully I don't lose any hardware in the meantime. Okay, now we'll put our insulators and our post clips back where they go. Our wire clips, I guess. Right now the hard part is getting the nut back onto the back of this and getting it to stay. What I usually do is I'll hold it tight against the post like that and then try to get this thing started. And once I get it started, I can just tighten it down. Probably would have been helpful if I'd grabbed a wrench for this, but I didn't. But that's okay. I can do that again later. Again, put the nut behind the clip and just try to get this started. All right, there we go. Got that in place. I will quickly show you how I connect these all together to save time, I guess, and a little bit of hardware. All right, so in order to get this connected to the fence, I need a piece of wire, a piece of insul tube, and I've got 3 cable clamps. Again, I think I mentioned earlier that I like to use cable clamps because they are, they're cheap, I guess. Cheap to buy in bulk. So I clip off a piece of insul tube that is long enough to fit between these, and the only reason I do this is to protect my jumper wire. In the event that it gets up against something, it won't short out my fence. Run my jumper wire through. All right. Take my cable clamp apart. Try not to lose the nuts that go on it. Run that wire through that cable clamp and put it on our hanger, and I just dropped a nut and don't know where it went. That's handy. All's well, I just found it. I'll call off the search party. And tighten this dude up. There we go. Now we've made connection with our cable clamp to our gate hanger, our gate handle hanger. Do the same thing down here at the bottom. Like I said, I like cable clamps. These are 1/8 inch cable clamps, and you know, you can get these for quite a bit cheaper. You can get these things for 20 cents a piece, something like that, which is much cheaper than the wire connectors, fence wire clamps. Alright, and then once we get these positioned where we want them, we do the same thing up here on our fence to make our connection to our wire there. That ties our gate and our fence together and gets everything running hot like we want it. Another thing is these cable clamps are they're zinc coated, which is a type of galvanization, I think is how you would say that. But that zinc coating kind of does the same thing, protects them so they are compatible with galvanized wire. Now, of course, they may not hold up as well in terms of the amount of time, you know, that they last, but again, it's another one of those things. You just gotta decide what you want to spend on, I guess. For me, I try to build these fences, try to do this kind of stuff as cheap as I can, at least on this type of thing, on interior fences anyway. So there we have it. Now whenever we connect our gate handles right here and here, it will energize our gate handles, and by pass-through will energize our fence over here. So I mentioned in a previous video that this big post right here was going to be a pivot post, and this, I guess, is what I meant by the terminology that I used there. This is acting as a corner. I have hung a couple insulators from this post right here, and I'm running my wire through the insulator. It's not wrapping. Basically what's happening here is the wire is just allowed to pass through the insulator. That way it can come from the post down here, make the turn, and then go on up there the direction that I want the fence to go. Now this here is my second pivot point. It's actually a utility pole, don't tell anybody. But I've got this here as my next pivot point in order to get straight on over there to our other post where our gate is. And I picked a spot here that's roughly halfway in between these two pivot posts. And this is actually where I'm going to put my strainers instead of putting them on one end. If you have a straight run, putting them on one end really isn't too much of an issue. Generally, I'm one of those folks that I like to put my strainers in the middle of the pull. Don't always do that. Haven't really done that on this project, at least on my straight pulls. But in this instance, I am going to try to get these in the center of the pull of these wires. So I have both ends coming right here. I actually have where I've cut my wire and tied them back together so they don't just spring back up. But I'm going to use this spot to pull my wires tight, okay, to be the point of tension. That way it's pulling from both directions, again, especially since it's having to kind of go around an inside corner there. It keeps tension equalized, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So the goal is to make sure that I do not get my wires twisted up here. All right, so this is a bottom wire. This is the top wire. And we're good, haven't got them twisted. We'll start with the top wire. I'm just going to feed this through the strainer and tie it off just like I would any other spot in the fence. Mentioned in a previous video that I prefer the strainers that have the hole at the back, but whenever I grabbed this case of strainers, whenever I bought this case of strainers, I wasn't paying attention, and so I didn't get the ones with the hole in the back of them. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I clip off the extra little bit of wire here and get it started. So as I said before, 15mm wrench. Gets tension on there. Try not to get hit in the head. And then I like to offset them just a little bit in the event that they get tangled together. Doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. You never know what's going to happen. I think that's good. Good enough set post anyway. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how I connect my fence to the rest of the system, you know, get everything all connected. Most of my connections run through the gates, and the gates are all fired by the posts that are on the perimeter of the property, which this right here is one. This is our perimeter fence right here connected to this post on the back side of it. So what I do in order to get power to both strands of wire is I will connect these two. I'm just going to twist them together like you would, you know, if you were trying to just twist a wire connection, an electrical connection, and then I'll use a piece of this insulated, this plastic tubing, and I'll slip it over my lead that goes over here to my exterior fence, which powers everything else. And it's the same step. Each one of these lines that come this way that run perpendicular to my perimeter fence, each one of these are connected, and as I said, it goes back then to the gate handles. The gate handles then power the rest of the fence, power the alleyway. So hopefully that makes sense, but let me show you what I mean here. Let me show you how I make all these connections. It's actually pretty simple stuff. So again, I make this connection. I try to leave some slack here in this wire coming up this way. I do not put a piece of tubing over it. I guess you could if you're worried about something getting up against it. I'm not. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Hopefully I don't, you know, have to eat those words. But then, like I said, I basically just twist these wires together as if I were making an electrical connection. Once I get a ways down, I will clip off the extra off of the short wire, then pull the longer wire over here where I want it. To make my connection. I don't know if you can hear or not, but every animal on the place is either barking or braying or mooing, all of the above. This stuff coils up, or is coiled up in a really tight coil, so once I pull out a section of it, I'll kind of stretch it out, try to get at least the biggest part of the curve out of it. Lay it up here, figure out how big of a piece I need. Really all I'm trying to do is bridge this space right here in the event that an animal comes over and pushes it, or something pushes it up against the post. That way it won't ground out. Then just use a box knife, box cutter, razor blade, whatever. Cut the plastic tubing, and then slip it over the end. And of course, there we go. That was bent, so then we slip it over the end of our wire, run it up through there until the wire pokes out. And then basically what we're going to do, this is a hot wire right here. It's the closest one, which works for me. And we're going to take another one of our cable clamps and make our connection. Now, you could, if you don't want to use a cable clamp, you could just twist the wire on there. You know, I know there's lots of folks that do that. I just like the cable clamp. We have a lot of deer run through here and stuff like that, and I don't know. I guess the cable clamp makes me feel like it's a little bit more secure. But like I said, I know there are folks out there that they just twist all their connections together. And that's fine. At the end of the day, you've got to figure out what works best for you. So there we go. That is it. That is all there is to it. That is a connection. Like I said, we've got our supply coming from this wire right here into this. It connects to our cross fence, our interior fence, and then this twist right here. Hey, like I just said, I know there's folks twist their connections together. Here's one, okay? So that connection is twisted together, and then it connects the bottom wire. So now once I re-energize the fence, both of these will be hot.